Hi, I'm Brandy Thomas, and I'm the Family and Community Engagement Coordinator for the Elma School District. We have been gathering insight and information from our parent forums and communications team. Out of that, we have crafted some essential questions that Superintendent Kevin Acuff will answer for us today. Our school district website will be an essential hub for you to keep informed about COVID-related school-based decisions. We have created a COVID tab that will continue to be updated with materials and resources. To start our conversation, can you describe the decision-making model and why we will start remote learning for the 2020-21 school year?
I can. The model that we use at the district is the Department of Health School Decision Tree Matrix. And basically this matrix divides each county, depending on the amount of disease transmission, into three categories: low, medium, moderate, and high. In the low category, it would mean that you have less than 25 new cases in the previous 14-day period per 100,000 residents, and we have about 75,000 people in Grays Harbor County. And then the moderate is between 25 and 75 per 100,000 residents, and then the high category is anything over 75 cases in the last 14 days. And it's a rolling average, so that you can move from one to the other every 14 days. As each day clicks off, you have a new previous 13 days. And the board uses that model to determine the level of how many students and which students would come to the school. In our current stage, although most of our students will be staying home, we will have high needs special education students will come to the school, and that's due to the fact that they could not access their education in any other way if they did not come to the school. So that's the way that the decision is made.
As you're using the decision tree, we know that it connects to the district goal. What is our goal for our school district, and how does that fit into our decision-making model?
Well, our goal during this time, and really any time, is staff and student safety. And so all of our decisions have to be made through the lens of what is safe in terms of having people at the school. And because we're not experts in pandemics or the amount of disease there is in a particular community, we listen to the experts. So we follow the guidelines that are laid out by that matrix in terms of making that decision. But we also have in our minds the idea of the safety of our students, and it's not just physical, it's also emotional. So we do have sort of a desire to always be moving towards having more students in the school, because we understand how important it is for them to be in school and to be able to learn in person to access their education. And we really think that that's an important part of their safety and their emotional stability. So we'll always be trying to move in that direction because that's what's best for kids.
Can you briefly describe the pandemic return stages, and when and how often will that be evaluated?
So I talked a little bit earlier about the return stages. We have high, moderate, and low. And the recommendations are in high that you have the most students you would have would be groups just like I previously described. High needs special education students, maybe for 1 day per week you might bring in some other students who are most at risk from falling further behind. So you might have elementary students who are English language learners, and some other smaller groups that you would bring in groups of less than 10 and work with them. Probably not any more than 1 or 2 days a week at the most during this phase. Then you have the moderate phase, which the recommendation is that you can go ahead and bring in elementary students all the way up to grade 5. That's included in the recommendation. They don't require a hybrid model, simply that you maintain 6 feet of distancing, you frequently wash your hands, and that all students wear a mask or a face shield. And then the lowest category would include all students, and that includes grades 6 through 12. That's also the stage at which we would begin to do athletic activities, again, because that's the recommendation as part of the matrix. So that's kind of an overview of the 3 stages.
Our school calendar is set to start school on September 2nd. What do the first 3 days look like for families and students at home?
You know, in some ways, the first 3 days will be similar to other years, with the exception of most of the time will not be spent at school. But for the elementary students, they'll start out by coming to the school to meet with their teacher and their parents. That would be by appointment, and they would receive the curriculum and any workbooks, and they'll receive their Chromebook and other supplies to take home so that they can do their schoolwork at home. That would happen actually over the first 3 days at the elementary school, because teachers need to meet with all of the parents and students in each of their classrooms. And then for the middle school, high school, again, it's similar to a usual start, except it needs to be remote. And so they'll start the year with a school-wide assembly on the first day. And then on the second day, they will make an appointment, or they'll be given an assigned time to come into the school to pick up their Chromebook, to get any other supplies that they need, to sign up for an ASB card and buy an annual if they want, and also to get their picture taken for their ASB card and for the annual while they're at school. And then on Friday, middle school, high school students will again engage with not necessarily their teachers, but with staff members who are going to talk about, and some of those could be teachers, talk about their high school and beyond plan. This is a plan that all students in grades 6 through 12 work on each year, and the idea is to prepare them for what steps they're going to take after high school to move into a career or to post-secondary education. And so we also do a check-in at that same time, because we do know that the pandemic has been very stressful for everybody, for adults and for students. But students haven't been around as long, and sometimes it's difficult to get around the idea that it's going to be over at some point in time. It seems like it's been for the longest time. So we're going to do a check-in and really provide some support and let them know how they can get more support if they're struggling with the issues having to do with not being able to come to school. So that anyway, things will look fairly similar to what they usually do when we have a school startup.
After we have our startup, what should a day look like for our students and families at the different buildings?
Our days are going to be structured around, first, the recorded lessons. Those will happen first thing in the morning, and that will happen for each of the different schools. But it happens a little bit differently at each school. In the elementary, since they're only with one teacher all day, that teacher may cover several subjects with the recorded lesson in the morning, and then move to what we call live or synchronous learning, in which the teacher would support students who are capable of connecting online. The lessons that are recorded are so that students who cannot access it directly online will still be able to. There will be recorded, those lessons will be recorded in such a way that they can be delivered to people's homes, and they can still listen to them on their Chromebook on a flash drive. As far as the high school goes, and then the rest of the day is going to be spent in sometimes other instruction, other live instruction, including specialists, and then other support time as well. And that will include, if they are receiving help with reading, they might have that scheduled for 2 days a week, or maybe only 1 day a week, depending on their needs. At the high school, each of the students is enrolled in 6 periods, as usual, but they will only have 3 classes on any given day. So on day 1, they might have math and English language arts and PE. And so there would be instruction for them at the beginning of the day, and then later in the day, they would receive some support from teachers who would come back and say, okay, did you watch the lesson? Do you have any questions? Would you like some support? Maybe I'm going to have 2 students consult together on Zoom so that they can complete a project. And the one exception for all the schools, we're going to keep the time period from 11:30 to 12:30 free of any live instruction or support, because that's when lunches will be delivered. And lunches do need to be picked up by the student or their parent, and we need to record who it is that's getting the lunch. It's not the same as it was for summer lunch, which is the way it was in the spring. So things are going to be a little bit different there on the lunch delivery, but that does relate to the way that the day will look, because then in the afternoon, they might have, in the high school, middle school, they might have some more live instruction, or they might have some support. But basically the day is divided up into both support, some time to work independently, and some recorded lesson time between 8:25 and 3 o'clock.
What are the expectations for the students?
Well, at the elementary school, our expectation is simply that we can connect with them. For those who have internet connectivity, we'd like for them to be present at all of the live sessions and to watch the recorded lessons and participate and learn. We have been very successful with students when we have in-person learning. Our district has won achievement or distinction awards each of the last 6 years for different schools. And so we've really perfected what we're doing, and we've seen improvement every single one of those years across our grade levels. So we're very proud of that, but when we're teaching remotely, we know that we're going to have to go a little slower. We're going to have to provide a different kind of support, but our expectation really is just that our students remain engaged at the elementary level. When it comes to the middle high school, their grading system, and by the way, the elementary grading system is the same as it always has been, standards-based grading. And at the high school, middle school, their grading system is going to be A through F with incompletes, and that's really the same grading system that we always have during the year. Obviously, if the student runs into problems with connection or an ability to access their learning, we're not going to fail them. They would be eligible for an incomplete, and we would make arrangements for them to be able to make that work up. But in terms of the high school, it would be that they are in attendance. All students in all grades need to be in attendance every day. What that means is that they connect somehow to the school. Under our current model, all 3 schools will have lessons, live lessons and support for 4.5 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and half of Friday. And then in the afternoon on Friday, teachers will be teaming together to determine how they can best approach and teach their whole groups of learners. English teachers work together at the secondary, and sort of math and science teachers, and then at the elementary, the teachers in the grade level will be working together. So, so the expectations in some way are the same as they usually are, with some exceptions and some accommodations for dealing with distance learning issues.
We have covered a lot of ground today, but I think many people would like to know what student populations will be prioritized for in-person instruction.
So I mentioned a little bit of the prioritization that we have, and that would be elementary students. Actually, I started off by saying our highest needs special education students who can't otherwise access their education. From there, the matrix really tells us how to prioritize bringing students back. And that is, the next would not be whole groups. It might be students who are English language learners who do not have connectivity might come in 1 day a week to begin with. And then when we bring, for instance, kindergarten through 2nd grade, again, we're starting from the lowest grades and moving to the highest. So the first grade band that we would bring in would be that kindergarten 1st, 2nd grade group. Then it would go 3rd through 5th, and then we would move into the secondary. But we wouldn't move into the secondary until we were either in moderate and really close to the low category, or in the low category before we would consider that. And when I say that, I just need you to know they've changed things so much that I take it with a grain of salt. That's the way that it is right now, and if they change their guidance, then we will adjust accordingly.
Are there any final thoughts?
Yeah, I really wanted to number one, thank our parents and our community. We were all thrown into a very, very difficult situation last March, and we had to go home, and at first the direction was just to provide something, and then a week later they said, well, you need to provide this, and so we pulled it together as best we could. And I was very proud of everything that we did in the spring, but we know that it's not good enough for what we're going to begin this year with, and frankly the way that it's going to look this year will be completely different. So number one, I just want to thank the parents because they stepped up and supported their kids, and I just couldn't be more proud of the way that they did that. And then the second group that I want to talk about is the staff, because even though it might have been very frustrating that we could not put plans out that were there in a manner or as timely as we would have liked, we were really, and we continue to be chasing these different expectations. At the start of the summer, we were absolutely planning to bring all of our students back for in-person instruction. We spent a lot of time planning that. And then in mid to late July, things turned, the cases went up, and we realized that it became more and more likely that we wouldn't be able to start in person. So now we had to make a second plan in order to deal with 100% remote learning. And I couldn't be more proud of the way that the staff has pulled together, the way that parents and community have pulled together to help us develop that plan. And I just know that this time is going to be a lot better. And the last thing I want to say is I sure hope that our whole community can maintain hope, because really it's what our kids need. We get frustrated. I'm frustrated. People don't want to wear a mask. I don't want to wear a mask. We do it because it's for our community. And I am hopeful, and I'm going to remain hopeful, that if we do what we're supposed to do, that we can get back to in-person school. And our kids need in-person school. And it may be an inconvenience for us, and it may be stuff that we don't like, but if they see us being hopeful and acting in a way that really is supportive of them being able to get back to in-person instruction, well, I think that's the best statement that we can bring them.
Please go to our school district website at eagles.edu and reference the new COVID-19 tab. This will continue to be updated with materials and resources. Our district website is our main mode of communication, where you'll also be able to select the language of your choice at the top of the screen in order for the information to get translated. We'll be sending out Eagle events weekly in Spanish and in English, and also please like us on our Elma School District Facebook page. Please also be sure to check your emails and your Skyward wall as well. If texting is your preferred mode of communication, it is something that you would have to opt into in the past. However, we will be sending out details to do that again here soon. Last but not least, our auto dialer / robocall is another viable option to relay messages both in English and in Spanish. We will also continue to have parent forums throughout the school year, as well as our superintendent informational broadcasts. If you have COVID-19 specific questions, please email us at elma.info.covid19@eagles.edu. Thank you all for watching.